Computer, re-recording. Yes. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Fitness and Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Whitehead, and today joined by someone who's been blowing up at the moment on socials. Absolutely amazing to see it. He loves to call out bullshit, say it exactly how it is, and he's an awesome guy. Aaron Schiavone, women's fitness performance expert and coach. Welcome, Aaron. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good, mate. Glad to be on the podcast at last.
Yeah, man, we've been saying to do this for a while,
I
considering we
know.
film content together a lot of the time. Finally got around to doing a podcast episode.
Yeah, mate, let's
And
get cracking.
yeah, this one's going to be a juicy one because it's going to be the 11 biggest fitness lies and myths that women have been told to believe that prevents them from building their dream body, have an abundance of energy, an abundance of confidence, and probably is just keeping you stuck, confused, and frustrated. So today, I'm with the man, the myth, the legend, talking about myths, someone who cuts straight through the noise and the bullshit, and we're going to give you the 11 biggest myths that have been holding you back. And this is one of the things I think, especially for women and weight loss, there's so much marketing bullshit out there that companies must know are not true, but yet they know that it's going to put a dagger straight where it hurts and get their attention and cause someone to think, that sounds amazing. That sounds almost too good to be true. But because you can get so emotional about your weight, that sensory in your head doesn't go, that probably is too good to be true. Stay away. So hopefully we can provide some value and get you unstuck and on your way to an amazing shape and body. So Aaron, why don't you start us off, man? What would you say? We've got 11 to get through. What would you say is one of the biggest myths that are holding women over 40 back from achieving their dream body?
Well, I think what you just touched on there about the wording and the buzzwords in fitness. If we think back to, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the language that was used around fitness, especially for women when it came to weight loss and what they should be focusing on, what their appearance should be, and how they were spoken to, none of that has gone away. It's just been repackaged into the new terms. It's basically been wrapped up in therapist speech,
Hmm.
so the same concept is still behind it. How it's marketed to you is still very much like, well, you know, you're not good enough. You need this. This is the only way. This is the secret. And it's all wrapped up in, healing and health and happiness and blah, blah, blah. But inherently, the marketing behind it and the people who are selling it to you are still using the same stuff they've been using for the last 50 years to bait you in. They're just using nicer words now.
Just
And we
wrapped
see
up
this all
slightly
over the,
differently.
yeah, yeah, we see this all over the packaging for food, right? It's always high protein, high fiber, vitamins and minerals, gut health and hair and nails and skin and throwing all these things at you, things that you hate. Oh no, I've got dodgy nails. Oh, is my hair a bit dry? Is my skin a bit oily or is it aging? Am I getting wrinkles? If I take this, then that'll make me suddenly be happier and healthier and look younger. And I'm like, no, mate, it's a yogurt. No, it's got more sugar in it than it's got protein.
Yeah.
But the marketing, the buzzwords, that's how they get you and they suck you in. But just remember that all that stuff that made you feel shit about yourself in like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, it's exactly the same. They've just made the words nicer.
We literally did that the other day, didn't we? I picked up a yogurt in the shop and it was like high protein, high fiber, high vitamin B, high vitamin 12, like high vitamin C. And then you look at the back and it's like 8 grams of sugar, 5 grams of protein. It's like, well, it actually
No.
has more sugar than protein. So where's the part where it says high sugar? So buzzwords, marketing concepts, things that are designed to get your money and make it sound a little bit more juicier than it actually is. That's one of the biggest traps. And I
Yeah.
suppose as well, like, I validate that because the amount of times I'll have a strategy session call with someone who wants coaching or is looking to achieve a certain goal. And then when I ask them like, what have you tried? They give me loads of like random stuff, if you know what I mean. And it's like I'm expecting them to say, oh, I tried this exercise program or I've tried this many calories. And then they give me random stuff like, yeah, I was trying those X shakes. And it's like, well, that's just this is random. That's not even a strategy. That's just
Yeah.
like a random thing that you've tried and no wonder it didn't work. And but they think it's what they need.
Yeah, there's a really cliche thing that we have in fitness that people still don't seem to twig onto, right? It's like if a vet said your dog was fat, you'd be like, okay, I need to feed him less and take him on more walks.
Mm,
But if your doctor tells you you're fat, you're like, right, what pill do I need? What workout do I do? What's the best cardio for fat loss? What shake do I need? Shall I do injections? Shall I get it sucked out? And you start thinking of all these things. I'm like, oh, hang on, how about just cleaning up your diet and doing some more exercise, right?
mm.
Why does it work for your dog? It won't work for you. You're no different, really. You know?
Yeah.
So, don't fall for these, things, because of the flashy words, right? The fitness industry will always treat women like a fragile demographic that they can just endlessly milk.
Get your hard-earned cash.
Yeah,
And then
you are the cash cow. No
mm,
offense.
you got to be careful. I've got a great one though that ties into what you're saying and it kind of agrees and counters it at the same time. And that's the advice for women over 40 that it's just calories in, calories out.
Mm,
And I want to make one thing clear. Yes, fundamentally, you need a calorie deficit if your goal is to lose weight. But that's very nuanced. And that doesn't mean to say you just need to make sure more calories are going out than coming in if your hormones, your stress, your sleep, your lifestyle is chaos. And
mm,
I think sometimes there can be an oversimplification that doesn't apply for women over 40, maybe experiencing perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause, right?
yeah.
Symptoms.
Probably the worst thing you can do at that point is tank your calories and do tons of exercise
Yeah.
because all you're going to do is throw up your cortisol levels. You're already probably battling some level of insulin resistance. So you're adding a stressor on top of a stressor, and insulin resistance and high cortisol basically makes fat loss very, very difficult.
Impossible.
And so that, yeah, women who are older going through perimenopause, or in full swing into menopause, really should be more about just a gradual weight loss, like a small but manageable deficit, not 1,200 calories, or like some people I know who I've spoken to friends who are like, oh, they're eating 800, 900 calories a day
Mm.
and wondering why they feel like death and they can't concentrate and their kids are driving them up the wall. I'm like, yeah, I had more food than that at breakfast,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
they've had breakfast at all. So yeah, you have to consider hormones a lot more when you are getting older and how you that comes into play with calories in versus calories out because it isn't just as simple as eat less, move more, right? That is
Yeah.
the vast oversimplification you hear in fitness more. That's the technical, scientific, very baseline way of saying, like that's what works, but that's what works in the context of everything else that's kind of going on, what you've got to manage, life, stress, kids, family, career, menopause, monthly cycle. Um,
Yeah.
I think for most women, crashing on low calories and just doing like tons of cardio is the absolute worst thing you can do.
Mm. I agree with that as well. And the other thing to focus on here is also protecting like your mental energy as well at the same time. So, typically speaking, as we get older and as women progress through life, responsibilities become higher, right? So, for example, Cara, for full transparency, like we a little bit of a wobble this morning because she's a brand new mum. This is my fiance, my partner, brand new mum, and yesterday Hugo was just on the boob the whole day, right? Like just getting that milk in, and she was like trapped in a sense, where it's like, holy crap, I can't move, I can't do anything. Like he's on the boob the whole day. And there's that kind of like overwhelm where it's like, okay, I haven't actually managed to do anything for myself. So I think as women go through life, responsibilities, kind of like guys, but women are powerful. Like they're sometimes the anchor to the ship, right? They have a lot more life pressures. And if you're going down that oversimplification and you're thinking, I just need to slash calories in half, what kind of impact is that going to have on your mental energy because you're not getting enough food in? How are you going to show up every day? Is that going to impact how you feel on a day-to-day basis? And then progress, you say cortisol spikes, progress slows down, the frustration creeps in, and you end up in this like cyclical cycle of sabotaging your results without realizing, burning yourself out in the process, and then just feeling like absolute shit as a compound effect of all of that.
Yeah. Because that's really kind of like sort of like the next myth, really, isn't it? Is that eating less is the fastest way to lose weight, right?
Ties in perfectly with this one, yeah.
And it's just like, okay, oh, I need to lose weight. I'm going to starve myself. I need to lose weight. Right. Going to start running on the treadmill. But the more you kind of drive yourself into that hole, the more it robs you of your mental energy and the more it battles against your hormones and what your body wants. Your first reaction tends to be, well, I need to eat less food and I need to do more cardio. So you just dig yourself into a deeper hole, restrict yourself further, and then all that leads to is giving up.
Yeah.
You go, fuck, this is too hard. I'm miserable. I'm hungry. I'm craving everything. So you tend that's where the binges come in. You give into that craving, and one thing turns into 1,000 calories, into 2,000 calories, into a week of just eating whatever you want, and then you're like, oh, I hate myself. Now I need to kind of do it again. Well, why hasn't it worked for me? And it's
This
because well,
isn't
you never did it right
working.
in the
Yeah.
first place.
Mm.
Because it's like, and your body adapts so quickly, right? Metabolic ab adaptation, I think is the thing that people confuse for starvation mode, the
Yeah.
classic myth of
Yeah.
starvation mode, that as your body like gets less calories, it holds on to fat. It doesn't hold on to fat, it just gets more efficient at how it uses energy.
Yeah.
And the bigger a deficit you put yourself in, the more your body adapts to that. And it just down regulates as many things as it can because it doesn't want to die. That's
Mm.
all your body knows is there's less food. I'm losing weight. I'm dying. I am starving. This is a famine. I need to keep myself alive.
Yeah.
So I will downregulate things. I'm going to lower your energy. I'm going to lower your brain function. I'm going to lower your desire to move and walk or fidget or, anything. You just become slower and you slow down so that it holds on to, all the precious things it wants.
Mm.
Um,
Someone described it quite well to me as like you want your body to be like a big guzzling Ford SUV as opposed to the Toyota Prius, right?
yeah.
And the Ford guzzling SUV is gonna, do go for a trip down the road and you've got to fill up your tank again, right? Because it's guzzled the fuel. Whereas a Toyota Prius is like you can get 400 miles out of that thing on like half a tank. And although it sounds like you want to be like the Prius, you don't. When it comes to fat loss and losing weight and changing your body shape, you actually want to be the Ford SUV, right? Who's just
Mm.
burning energy all the time.
Or
But
the
then
Ferrari.
also, yeah, the Ferrari, right? The supercar.
Got
But
that
then
Ferrari vibe.
also that's the thing, like you said, eating less is the fastest way to lose weight. One of the things I encourage, and I talk about this a lot in my content, is actually eating more without overspilling on the calories. And it's a technique I use really often with my clients and also the photo shoot strategy I just used, and it's called volume eating. And it's how can you eat as much food as possible whilst keeping your calories low? And the three things I like to focus on are high fiber, high protein, high volume. Once you have those three things in check, you can actually eat more food. Yes, more food for lower calories. And it's kind of like, if you think about it, it's a bit of a phenomenon because it doesn't make any sense. How can
Yeah, I
you
love it
eat more but less?
when you'll give clients something and they'll be like, I couldn't eat all the
Too
food. I
much
was so
food.
full.
Yeah.
And they're eating like 1,400 calories. And I'm like, You feel full on 1,400 calories? That's good.
Yeah.
Because most people on 1,400 calories would be eating. hardly anything and they'll be starving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like loading your meals up, man, with vegetables, just lots of veg and leaves and all that kind of stuff that just doesn't take up a lot of space. White potatoes, whole grains, good healthy fats, just
Yeah.
lots of protein, lots of lean protein, then you just stay full for like so long.
Yeah. Yeah. And piggybacking off what you said about metabolic adaptation, I think ties in nicely with the next myth of like going through hormonal changes or menopause is the reason that I'm gaining weight.
Hmm.
And although it can feel like it is, as soon as you hit 40, it's like, oh, my body's changed and now I'm gaining weight. Menopause itself isn't a trigger of weight gain. It's all the things leading up to that, where maybe your lifestyle factors haven't quite been as optimized as they should be. Those things stop working. So what used to work, the things you used to be able to get away with, no longer there's a finer margin for error now because your hormones have drastically changed. The game gets a little bit harder. Whereas if you don't have the habits and the routines and the structure set up to begin with, that then suddenly catches up with you. And that's where you start to get a little bit burnt and you feel like, oh, well, nothing's changed and I'm gaining weight. That could be true, but what you were doing before you might have been getting away with it, if that makes sense. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. So I think that the common mistake being that people think menopause causes weight gain. What menopause typically does is redistributes on your body where it stores fat. So if you've never been somebody who stores weight on your stomach, you'll probably find you're going to start gaining weight on your stomach, whereas you maybe used to hold it on like, your hips, your thighs, your glutes. So you go, oh my God, I'm gaining weight. It's not. You're typically just gaining fat where you didn't used to gain it before. So that's where I guess this menopause belly,
Mm,
thing comes from, is there's that redistribution of fat as like estrogen changes. The other thing as well is that as you're getting older, like I said, lifestyle factors change. Over 30, you are gradually losing a couple of percent of muscle mass every
yeah,
year, especially
that's
if you're not
massively
strength
overlooked.
training to keep it. So that's, technical term is sarcopenia, but that mix of muscle loss, change in estrogen levels, and just, the lifestyle changes that come with being older, right? You've got more money, so you have typically nicer, more indulgent foods. You're probably drinking more alcohol. You're probably, going out to nice restaurants more. You're probably working a busy job where you're stuck at a desk and you've got a nice car, so you drive everywhere. Whereas when you were younger, you were a student or whatever, you didn't have these things. You ate, whatever you could get your hands on. You would walk everywhere or cycle places. And it's just that gradual changeover in your life to become more sedentary and a bit more indulgent, paired with muscle loss. That is typically where that weight gain comes from. Because again, the myth is that as you get older, your metabolism slows down. Doesn't like your metabolism doesn't slow down. You slowed down.
Mm,
That's why you're gaining the weight. So it's just about trying to keep up a certain level of movement and momentum in your life will keep it, relatively stable. It's the same with like pretty much all my clients who go through menopause. If once we get them moving, doing more steps, being a bit more careful with their food, reducing
mm,
alcohol, lifting weights, their bodies like start to change and the
yeah.
fat comes off and they get stronger. I regularly get messages from my clients who are in like, their 50s and they're like, I used to get my husband to carry this big heavy
Mm,
water jug to feed our chickens, or I used to have to put it in the wheelbarrow to take it across the field to feed the chickens. Now I can do it on my own. I get messages like that all the time, and I'm like, that's the kind of stuff we want. And they're like, oh, I'm wearing shorts for the first time in 15 years, at age like 55.
mm.
And you're not doing anything crazy with them. Strength training, getting them to get some steps in, tidying up the diet a bit, not necessarily tracking massively close, but just making some smarter choices, being more physically active, and just shit happens. you
Yeah,
know?
for sure. And I think that's important there as well. I think we put so much emphasis on weight loss and fat loss. Obviously, it's the buzzword, right? That women think they want, and they do want, but also muscle building, toning up, right? that is equally, if not more important. I think when women join me, they realize quickly, or I make them realize quickly that, hey, we're not just focused on losing weight here. I want you to get stronger. I
Mm.
want you to progress in the gym. I want you to not be afraid of lifting weights, applying progressive overload, eating more protein. Because, like you said, they go hand in hand. The more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism. As you get older, yeah, you're in doubt of losing muscle mass. I can't remember the statistics. I think it's like 1 in 3 women will experience osteoporosis and sarcopenia as they age, which is frightening.
I think, yeah,
So,
it's around 1 to 2% of muscle mass and bone density every year after 30. And it
yeah,
accelerates
wild,
after 40.
wild,
So
wild.
you can be losing, yeah, 3, 4% a year after 40.
Mm.
So yeah, this kind of leads, I think, nicely onto like the next myth in that strength training is not going to make you bulky. Take it from
Or it
two
is going to make you
guys.
bulky. Strength
Yeah,
training is going to make you bulky. That's the myth, right?
yeah. So take it from two guys who have both been training for years. I've been training what, 25 years? You've been training what, a decade or more?
15, yeah.
15 years. Do either of us feel like we're as bulky or as big as we want to be yet for all the work we put in? Not even close. Um, if there's one thing I'd like the women watching and listening to this to take away is that strength training, so lifting weights to build muscle and get stronger, is fundamentally the most important thing you can do for yourself.
Mm,
You know, you are going to build muscle, and there is great evidence of the correlation of muscle volume to lifespan. And particularly with women, lower body muscle volume, so leg and glute, determines lifespan just as much as your cardiovascular fitness contributes to lifespan. The more muscle you have, the longer you are going to live, the better quality of life you're going to be able to live in your 70s, your 80s, your 90s, right? Where it really begins to count. It's the difference between being physically active and being able to do stuff, climb the stairs, carry your shopping, still do things with friends and family versus being in a nursing home
mm,
and, being, housebound and not being able to do something. Catching yourself when you trip and fall over, or falling over and breaking a hip, ending
mm.
up in hospital, dying in hospital because your body goes, oh, well, I've seen that happen to my wife's auntie. She tripped, fell, broke her hip, went to hospital, fell out of bed, broke her other hip. Not long later, died in hospital, right?
Same.
All because she just went downhill after that.
Mm,
There is the fear that women think as soon as they start picking up weights, they're going to just pack on tons and tons and tons of muscle, right? It doesn't work that way, right? Biologically, you are hindered with things like testosterone levels. You can build at the same rate as men, but not the same amount as men. Um, it's typically in a woman's first year of training. If she was, young, like, late teens, early 20s, like prime kind of, for growth and hypertrophy. You might put on 10, 12 pounds in a year. And that would look significant on your frame. But then it diminishes every year after that. That 10 pounds the next year becomes maybe 5 or 6 pounds. And then year three, that becomes 3 or 4 pounds. And in year 4 or 5, that becomes 1 or 2 pounds. And after a while, you're just kind of like ticking along, trying to gain the odd couple of pounds a year if you're lucky.
mm,
Um, but laying down that initial foundation, greatly increasing your bone density as early in life as possible is just so, so important. Don't worry about the aesthetics of things. You will never get bigger than you want to be. Trust me, because none of us ever get as big as we want to be. It's so much fucking work. It's
mm.
so much effort, so much food, so much protein, so much training
So
and
much
dedication.
consistency
The consistency.
that you
We're
need
talking,
to do that
talking, talking workout after workout after workout for
for
months,
years.
years, tracking all your training, progressing as much as you can, pushing things to the absolute extreme that your body can handle in the gym in that session, really pushing and driving your sets. If you're not doing that and you're just going along and doing a few lazy workouts and sitting on the abductor, adductor, lifting a few dumbbells and doing some combo exercises and playing on your phone half the time, you're trust me, you're fine.
Yeah,
You're not
yeah,
going to get
you'll be
bulky.
okay. You'll
Yeah.
be okay. And that like ties in nicely with the next myth. I don't know what number we're up to now, but about the scale will tell you if you're making progress.
Mm.
And this is one of the biggest misconceptions. This one's a funny one because it can completely derail you for absolutely no reason. What I mean by that is you step on the scale and you see the number go up. You've gained a pound. Emotionally, what are you going to do? How is that going to make you feel seeing that number go up? Now, for most people, including guys, they have a hard time dealing with that. So, straight away, you become emotional. What happens when you become emotional? Intelligence and decision making reduces, right? It goes down. Therefore, you maybe not make the right decision after that. Oh, fuck it. What's the point? Oh, this isn't working. Blah, 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 right? Then you go into self-sabotage mode, and then you really do a little bit of damage. Then you step on the scale and it's gone up even more. And that's when you're like, oh, this isn't working. I throw in the towel. Whereas if you would have ignored that number on the scale and you would have looked at your progress photos, you would have taken note of your strength, of your energy. Maybe you're bet you down a notch on your belt, for example, or you're fitting back into a pair of jeans that you hadn't for a while. You'd be going, oh, actually, I am making progress and I feel good about this. And you would continue because your motivation levels would be up because you seeing results. And I see this all the time, and it's such a shame because women think that they look at that number and they think that's the be all and end all of what I'm doing. And it actually takes like coaching to try and change that mindset. And they self-sabotage for no reason because they think that the scale is the true representation of whether or not they're making progress. When actually they are making progress, they're just looking at the wrong tool to measure it. And this whole thing could have been avoided had they have chosen different avenues to focus on.
Yeah, the scale is purely your resistance to gravity, right? I could step on the scale and I'll weigh one thing, and then if I pick up this glass, I will weigh more.
Or if you drink
You
a
know,
pint of water,
yeah, because if I drink this pint of water, I will weigh more. Does that mean I'm worth
fatter.
less?
Mm,
There's all the things you have to think about. How hydrated are you versus the last time you weighed yourself? Have you had a salty meal? Have you had a sugary meal, a carby meal? Have you had alcohol? Have you been to the gym? Have you been to the toilet? You know, are you constipated or not, right? All these things kind of will affect your weight. Are you on your menstrual cycle? You're going to be bloated. You're going to gain weight. All sorts of things will fluctuate your weight up and down all the time. The thing to realize is your ideal body weight could be heavier than you think.
mm,
It could also be the exact same weight you are now, right? If you had a woman who was 60 kilos on one side, 40% body fat, and then you took that same woman and you made her 60 kilos, but she's 20% body fat, right? So you've reduced her body fat, but you've greatly increased her muscle mass. They will look completely different, but they weigh the same. Does that mean your worth hasn't changed, despite the
mm,
fact you've drastically changed your body shape and the amount of
mm,
body fat you have and muscle mass? No, you get so tied to this number and the worth that it gives you. Nobody's weighing you in the street. They're not weighing you at the airport. Like,
imagine that.
you know,
You see
the
someone you
price of
haven't
your
seen in
ticket.
ages. Hey,
Yeah,
they pull out their scales. Hey, do you mind just
yeah,
stepping on these scales for a minute, just so I can see if you've lost weight?
exactly. Right.
Insane.
People don't know what it is, and that doesn't matter. What matters is the overall progress. And like I said, you could be the exact same weight and look completely different. You could be heavier and be smaller
Mm,
than you were. Because again, if you're switching that muscle for fat, the muscle is denser. It takes up less space for the equivalent weight.
mm,
So that 60 kilo woman on either side would be physically smaller than the 60 kilo woman who was fatter. So, you know, it's a stupid way to just to gauge progress. I assume that's one of the things we hate the most about slimming groups, Slimming World, Weight Watchers, come at us, because their measure of success is what do you weigh that week?
mm.
Right? You do the step of shame, the public shaming in front of
With that
everyone
one, isn't it?
there to be weighed. And your progress is based on did you gain, did you lose, did you stay the same? Oh, did your waist drop? Did your chest drop? Did your arms and leg measurements go down? Has your body fat percentage changed? Have you built muscle? It can't tell you any of these things.
Yeah.
It's a tool like everything else, but it has to be a tool that's part of a tool set.
Yeah, definitely. Love that. What's next?
What is next? I think,
Well,
well,
I rattled through most of them.
I know. Um, uh,
I've got a good one.
yeah, you go ahead. I'm kind of struggling to think now about what's on our list.
Cutting out favorite foods to lose weight.
Oh, that's a good way to fail.
Why?
As soon as I tell you you can't have something, you want it,
Mm,
right? It's a very simple psychological thing. If I turn around to you and say, no more chocolate, you're gonna be like, oh, I really want chocolate now.
mm.
And if I'm like, no, no chocolate, every time it creeps into your head, you're gonna be like, oh, I want chocolate. I want
I'm
chocolate.
thinking about it now, mate. I'm
Yeah,
actually
right?
thinking about, genuinely thinking about, I'm a bit hungry, so I'm thinking about
Yeah.
chocolate now.
You've just been on a massive diet. I'm currently on a diet. As soon as I start saying things like I want, I'm like, ooh, oh, I want that now. Oh. And as soon as you eliminate things from your diet because you think they're bad for you or you can't have them, you're just setting yourself up to fail
Mm,
because they become the things you crave. And the things you crave are sometimes the things that help keep you sane. I remember
mm,
James Smith used to call them like he had this thing called sanity biscuits, where
right.
he'd be like, if you like biscuits, don't eliminate biscuits. Allow yourself to have, one or two a day or a couple throughout the week, your sanity biscuits. And the way I always tell people to do things is if you're looking at like a macro split, I'd be like 80 to 90% of your food should be your good, clean, whole foods, right? The stuff that we all know we should be eating every day. And then 10 to 20% can be your junk, right? Your snacks, your fun, your treats. That's where you get your chocolate, your biscuits, your ice cream, your cake, the whipped cream on your coffee, whatever it might be. That's where you can sneak these things in because if you factor it in every day,
Mm,
you don't miss it. If you don't miss it, you're not going to binge on it.
yeah,
If you don't binge, you can stay more consistent.
which is the key.
This is the key. Exactly.
Consistency is always the key. Yeah, I mean, going, you said there about I've just finished my cut, my diet, and I look back on it now and I was far from perfect. Far from perfect. It's probably the most, I say, sustainable or flexible way that I've ever done it. And arguably, I'd probably say I brought the best physique that I've ever had to the shoot. And yeah, I mean, towards the end, when you get to the nitty gritty, yes, you do have to be more disciplined. But for the majority of that, I was eating out. I went to Amsterdam. I drank alcohol during that time in Amsterdam. Yeah, it was good. Like, and I think that's the thing. Like, if you're listening to this, you probably don't have a goal to get photo shoot lean. Maybe you do, but you probably don't. You probably just want to, drop a bit of weight, feel a bit better in your clothes, have a bit more energy. You can totally do that by eating things that you actually enjoy. Yes, that doesn't mean to say you can smash down a whole bar of dairy milk every single night, but it means that you can have a couple of squares, you know, in the evening. Anything that just keeps you consistent is going to be an absolute winner. I think that's
Yeah, I mean,
it.
like I have pizza every week, right? We make homemade pizza every Saturday night, regardless of whether I'm on a diet or not. I'm having that pizza. What do I do though?
Non-negotiable.
I make the dough ball a bit smaller,
Yeah.
250 grams of flour rather than 300. You switch to the low fat mozzarella rather than the standard mozzarella. You have five slices of pepperoni rather than 10. You can still have the same thing. You just have to sometimes be a little bit more sensible with it. And I will still eat and drink the things I like because, you make that space to factor it in. If you don't go too aggressive on a deficit as well, you can leave that bit more room. And there's also calorie banking, something to talk about. Like, I'm amazed how many people don't really know about this as a strategy, but if you're on a certain amount of calories every day and you know you've got an event coming up, like a date night with your partner or like a birthday,
Mm,
you can be like, right, I'm going to undereat by 1 or 200 or 300 calories every day, Monday to Friday. And then I'm going to take, that 500, 1,000, 1,500 calories, whatever I've saved throughout the week, and I'm going to add that to Saturday.
Mm.
And now your diet has gone up to maybe 3,000 calories that you can eat on that day. But it all evens out across the week. So there's always strategies to be able to get these little things in. But yeah, as soon as you start eliminating, cutting out entire food groups, going low carb and doing keto or carnivore or all these other stupid diets and making huge changes to your lifestyle, that's pretty much as soon as you start the path to failure.
Mm.
I don't think I've really ever met anyone who has successfully done any of these things long term. Like,
Yeah,
eat how you
that's the
like to
key.
eat, you're just having less of it.
Mm. I think that's the key there, like long term.
Yeah,
Like, can you sustain that result for a long enough time
yeah.
for it to be successful?
I think again that sort of leads nicely into our sort of next myth in that believing that losing weight is going to make you happy.
Yeah, I was actually about to bring that one up
Yeah.
because when I was talking about my shoot, getting that lean, truthfully, it's actually pretty fucking miserable. At times.
Oh yeah, been there.
I was saying that like so just for full transparency, we're talking about there's always nuance with this stuff, right? Like cutting out your favorite foods. Like to get down to that level of body fat, like it does require discipline and does require sacrifice, right? Like I remember one of the things I love is my eggs in the morning. So I have eggs on toast with a little bit of grated cheese, ham on the side, a little bit of sriracha, right? On sourdough bread. It's so nice.
It
And
is
then
banging, by the way. He's made it for me many times.
yeah, I cook them fab. The funny thing is,
You cook a mean
yeah,
egg, a mean scrambled egg. Yeah.
I eat basically the same three or four meals every day. It's eggs on
Same.
toast in the morning. It's a variation of chicken and rice or chicken wrap, and it's
Yeah.
steak and rice. And because I only eat those main meals like 80-90% of the time, I've got those particular meals down to a really fine art. It's because all I cook. So I've
Yeah.
done it a million times. So eggs on toast, chicken and rice, steak mince. Oh, mate, come to me. I'll cook you up a banging variation of one of those three things. Anything else, I'm not great at.
Yeah.
But just slightly going off track there, going back to it. So I love my eggs in the morning. And towards the end of it, I was having to swap the eggs on toast for omelette, right? Mainly made out of egg whites and vegetables. And omelet's probably my least variation of egg. It's okay, but it's not that nice for me personally. It's all right. Like it's a 5 out of 10, right? Bang in the middle. And waking up for my omelet just didn't quite hit the same.
Mm.
And looking back now, the shoot was cool. But I wouldn't want to live my life every day with that level of sacrifice. Honestly, for me, there are people that do it, which
Mm.
is fine, but having to give up my eggs in the morning to have 1% less body fat, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And I think that's where that comes into play, where like, yeah, having abs is really, really cool and it's a really cool thing to do, but it doesn't make you happy, if that makes
No.
sense.
The
I think that's
leanest I've ever been has typically been the worst I've ever felt.
Hmm.
So I've done a few bodybuilding shows in the past. I think the last one was about maybe 8, 9 years ago. So I was down sort of 6, 7% body fat, like lean,
Hmm.
like hardly anything left on me to physically lose. And I was miserable,
Hmm.
miserable. I was cold. I was weak. I was felt emaciated. I was hungry all the
Hmm.
time. Brain wasn't functioning properly because you're not getting enough energy and enough
Hmm.
carbohydrates. Chronically constipated, you go to the bathroom like
Yeah.
once or twice a week if you were lucky.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah.
And you're living off of, skinless sweet potatoes, green beans, and plain ground turkey. 'Cause I was working with a bodybuilding coach at the time, and it was just a miserable existence in terms of the diet. Just so boring, plain, no flavor. It's just classic chicken, rice, broccoli kind of thing.
Hmm.
Uh,
Fish and
and
rice
yeah,
cakes.
sure, you look incredible, but you feel like death. You
Yeah.
feel horrendous. And as soon as you gain 5, 10 kilos back again, you fell alive, you know?
Hmm.
So sometimes there's that thing of chasing a certain level of leanness and a look, especially for women, chasing having, say, like visible abs and stuff, is a level of sacrifice I don't think most people are willing to make, that most people can sustain. And I guarantee most of you will not enjoy how you feel when you get there.
Yeah.
Because you will always feel at least a little bit tired, on top of already probably feeling quite tired from everything else.
Right.
Um, and if you've not got muscle mass and you're just trying to lose weight and get down to a certain weight, that's it. That's when you end up skinny fat, right? We always hear the term skinny fat. Skinny fat is basically you're under muscled, right? You're not over fat, you're under muscled. If you've and you're trying to lose weight when you've got no muscle there to support your metabolism, nothing to for the skin to wrap around when you lose the fat. So you keep getting smaller and stay soft. And I've had clients where, we'll lose a bit of weight in the past, and they'll get to the end and they'll be like, oh my God, I hate how I look.
Mm.
Like I thought I'd feel better. And like they're like, I've got no ass, like the skin's sagging at the bottom here and stuff. And I'm like, I want glutes and this and everything else. I'm like, yeah, well, we can't get glutes while you're dieting. We need to build you up.
Yeah.
And like I told you that in the beginning, but you wanted to lose weight. So, I see it happen all the time. If you're, you know, I don't want to say small, but if you're not like in that skinny fat range, you've not got like a ton of body fat you actually need to lose for your health and your well-being. You're just like soft.
Mm.
You don't need to lose weight. You
Mm.
need to gain weight. You need to build muscle.
For
Because
sure.
if you don't do that first, you're never going to lose weight to look the way you want to without basically being emaciated.
Yeah. And that's where it really is important to fall in love with the person you're becoming. It's not wrong to have that goal. You can 100, like I had that goal, and it's absolutely fine to have whatever goal you want. But that's where the self-worth and the fulfillment needs to be intrinsic, where you're doing it because you want to prove to yourself that you can do a certain goal, you can hit a certain milestone. Don't get me wrong, I felt incredible for my photo shoot. I can't wait to have the photos, but that's because I was enjoying that level of challenge. Whether or not I want to stay like that, different story. Yeah, I mean, we've seen it with that trainer in the gym, right? She's doing a bikini competition, and like
Hmm.
she doesn't look healthy. She genuinely doesn't look healthy.
No,
The fact that she's doing it is great. I think it's cool. I think it's amazing that she's
it's
pushing herself
commendable. Yeah,
there. But yeah, it's that thing of, I suppose, losing weight isn't going to make you happy. So
yeah,
find the goal and find the reason why you want to achieve a certain thing. Because when the going gets tough, just hitting a certain number on the scale or trying to look good for your holiday, that ain't going to cut it. It
yeah.
really isn't going to cut it. It's not going to be enough, and
I
you will
think
fall off track.
I think the big barrier women have there is the constant push of the message that smaller is better.
Mm.
That you're worth more if you're skinnier.
Do
You're
you
more
think we're moving away from
attractive.
that now? 2026?
I mean, you'd think so, but it's coming back.
Is it?
Like skinny culture, especially on like TikTok and things, is coming back
Is it?
hard.
It's weird, isn't it? It's
Um,
weird how we like trends resurface. Like I remember back in
yeah,
the
it's
90s,
basically the early
magazines.
90s again.
Yeah,
It's basically the early 90s with the early noughties fashion. That's what it
incredible.
seems to be. But like, yeah, it's coming back and people are fighting against it a lot more than, they would have done in the past when that was kind of
Yeah.
like the accepted thing. But sometimes it's hard to shout louder than like that noise.
Mm,
Um, and you'll still meet women who are like just want to be skinny and like, you'll see
mm,
that their hashtags on their gym videos is like,
Jenny.
hashtag getting skinny or skinny summer. And it's in the marketing, right? What
Yeah,
do you
it's
get?
tied
You
with
get
number one, the buzzword,
skinny
right?
tea, you get skinny yogurts, you
Mm,
get skinny bars, skinny cereal, skinny cookies.
mm,
Because it's like, oh, it's lean, it's not got fat. Skinny is the good word, but
mm,
being skinny you know, is not healthy, really. Unless you're like naturally, a very skinny person, in which case it is difficult to build muscle and gain weight. It takes even more work just from the opposite perspective of a lot of women. So we don't obviously diminish the naturally skinny, because I was naturally skinny. It took me a long time to build anything. But
mm.
um we have to kind of get away from that mindset of smaller is is better and
Uh,
it's going to make you, worth more and people were going to like you more because you're skinnier. I think people would like you more if they knew that you could like kick them through a drywall
Key
rather than blow
takeaway from
away in a
that.
breeze.
Key takeaway from this podcast episode. People will like you more if you can drop kick them through a drywall. Hey man, let's wrap it up. Let's
Cool.
leave it there. I think we've covered some good stuff there. Whether or not we did 11, maybe 12, kind of blended in all into one. There's
Yeah, I
a
think we blended
hopefully
a
a
bunch.
lot of yeah, hopefully a lot of key takeaways there for you to go away and digest. And as always, if you actually enjoy these episodes and you find value from them and you think someone else would benefit from having this kind of knowledge, hey, share the podcast. Tell someone you care about. Leave a 5-star review on Spotify or YouTube. I'm not sure if you can use leave a 5-star review on YouTube, and just pass the pod. Do the favor. Um, so thank you so much for hopping on. And Aaron, where can they find more of you?
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Coach Aaron M3. You can find my website, mind-muscle.co.uk. Find everything you need on there. My podcast is Mind Muscle Radio, available on all your favorite streaming services.
Nice muscle
Sorry for
video. I love
disappearing. Literally, when the postie comes with a package,
it.
right? I can hear out the door going, "Hello." Anyway, I'm like, "Go up there in a sec." Sorry.
Just doing a podcast. Nah, I love
Yeah.
it. Love it. Thank you for hopping on, man. I appreciate you. And yeah, I'll return the favor. We'll get onto your one. And yeah, if you enjoy the episode, leave a 5-star review, subscribe to the podcast. Have an amazing rest of your day, week. Go and crush the month. Appreciate you. See you on the next one.